I recognize the sound of it, but was it like too much of a reverb to it?
No. Okay,
No, so when she busts out of the the hall, the doors, she goes to the right, and that's fine. Then she walks towards the left and starts talking to Twilight, and it's completely desynchronized for some reason.
Yeah.
And so I just like didn't even care to put it to the animation. I just made it sound right.
There's a scene where you have Starlight who's walking, but she slows down also.
Right.
Yeah.
I do know.
Because some people slow down sometimes.
Because like you gotta remember, horses have back feet, so you gotta do like.
Yeah, no, I mean I do that.
Yeah.
That's easy.
The time I had to do that by hand,
like,
and it was pain.
Because like you gotta like put the sound through the back feet too, not just the front feet.
All I did is, I literally went frame by frame
Yeah.
and checked when the hoof touched the ground.
Yeah.
Did
Most
you have
of the
to
time
leave
it
all the
sounded
audio, signals and stuff?
No, because there was no audio signals. I was the one making the audio signals.
Did you use just like some kind of like coconuts to do it?
Yes, I did actually. They were coconuts.
Oh, and you had to retime all the voice lines.
I love that.
Did I?
Oh, that's cute.
Because I gave you
Hey, we got the people.
They're coming.
People are here.
We got about 3 minutes until we'll start.
3 minutes.
Wait,
what? What?
12:42.
Oh, is it? Are you sure?
Seth, it's 12:42.
I'll click the reset button when the panel starts. So we have nice time. Might be. I don't have my phone right now. Well, technically I do, but it's there.
It's kind of weird. It feels like we have some of the YouTubers in here mostly.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Well, most
They're-
collaborations are on YouTube because there's no other website.
It's funny because these guys already know how to collaborate. Most of y'all already know how to collaborate.
Hey, they're here to support.
No, that's
I did
illegal.
collaborated,
And hey, you never know. I mean, I'm a seasoned veteran, not really, but
No, you're not.
I need to know. I still need to learn. I'm teaching myself stuff. This panel is about teaching me.
Okay,
It's the
so
best
you're
way to learn
learning
how
stuff.
to
You're,
teach.
Right.
You're learning.
so you're gonna get deep throated by that straw.
That's a
when
good-
you drink it next time.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. It's coming back up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm good.
Nervous or excited to see me?
19 people. I already counted.
These rooms feel smaller but cozier than the other ones in the
Yep.
other place.
Yeah. Well, they don't feel as loud yet until someone gets on the
Renegade stage.
renegade stage over
Right.
there.
Good thing they don't have flashing lights in there.
I don't know if they're gonna do anything during this panel, but
Yeah.
if they do, we're gonna judge on their mix.
Well, we can close the door. So closing the door puts,
Well, if we close the door, then nobody's gonna.
And also
Nobody else.
this-
Yeah, no, we don't want to close. We want to keep the door open because people are gonna still trickle.
We'll close that
Keep it
door.
open. That's the whole point.
We should not close the door.
You don't realize just how loud that is. We were doing sound tests yesterday.
In here?
Yeah, I was like several doors down,
Sure.
and you could hear it just fine.
I was just worried about
Like you're
people
in
that
a
might like
concert.
trickle in after it's already
Yeah, I
started.
know. We could
Because
close
if the door's
renegade
closed, nobody's
stage
gonna be
door.
like, I'm gonna open this door.
Just cross through.
All right, 1 minute before we start.
Yeah.
60 seconds.
Huh?
59.
Yeah.
I wish I had some kind of
I like
clock
you
on me
too.
and I could do a countdown.
Say no homo.
You didn't
Yeah.
say it?
I'm
He
the
didn't say
meaniest
no.
bobini that you'll ever
Come
meet.
on.
I mean, listen, it's an ongoing problem. I'm trying to fix it.
Last night, these idiots
I can't
say
Hey, so are we just gonna do the highlight to start?
The what?
Okay.
Oh,
That's how we should start. I don't think we need to do the little skip bit.
what?
Yeah, we're high.
Remember? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That's him.
Yeah. So. Want to start?
Yeah.
Panel starts once I click reset.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Reset the entire con.
15.
Alrighty.
Resets the entire con.
No, it's just a counter.
We can just start it. Man.
Let's
It
try
don't
next.
matter.
Ready?
We're starting.
Let's go.
Ready.
All right.
Hi.
Ew.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Hello, everybody. My name is Larabin. So, welcome. I'm gonna be a bit nervous the first time I posted a panel before, but welcome to the collaborative Friendship is Magic collaborative do's and don'ts panel. What you saw my friend Maynard do just now, that's what you want to not do to people when you DM them out of the blue.
Don't do it.
Please don't just send people hi. But anyway, yes, I am joined here today by Paramere Animations. Woo, yeah! Anytime I say somebody's name, just pretend a giant applause placard disappears behind me.
The flashing.
I'm also joined here by prolific sound designer Sapphire Sistrine. I don't really know this person. Moving on. Minty Rude.
Laravan.
Hi. Laravan, yes. And Mr. Someone, I might call him Maynard a lot because that's what I call him.
That's my
But
name.
Mr. Someone, he's the host of, and if you don't recognize the name, he's the host of the Outer Remains podcast. You should go check it out. We also have a panel later today.
Have you heard of it?
Have you heard of
the
it?
Outer Remains podcast?
Spread the word. But yes, we are here today to go over some collaborative tips, some do's, some don'ts, kind of help get some people in a headway of doing collaborative efforts. This isn't only just for the My Little Pony fandom, but it's meant to be helpful just in general as well, in everyday activities. So, if we want to get started, we have a little slideshow presentation where we're each going to kind of speak about certain things, and we're all going to kind of talk with each other. You want to say something, Seth?
Yes.
Yep.
You see what he just did there? Giving all that nice information and nice introduction? That's what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
Don't
that
just say
instead.
hi.
Except don't turn like red like a tomato like I am. I'm
Don't
nervous.
blush.
Recruiting.
Recruiting. So yes, section 1. We're going to have this kind of labeled out in a couple different sections, and the first section we're going to be talking about today is going to be section 1 with recruiting. So I think the next one starts with Saf.
All right, so don't ask how someone's day is. Why? Well, if you're going to say someone like my friend, I am Shadow 007 here, she doesn't want to tell you how her day is. She wants to know why you're there, right? Because she doesn't know you. I don't know you. I don't want to tell you how my day is. I'm just going to say fine, you know. Instead, skip the formalities and go directly to, hey, my name is blah, blah, blah. I'm contacting you because of this, and that's it. Be direct and forward. Don't try and wait on pleasantries because most people won't answer.
That's very true. Moving on.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Compute, for the graphics. So, when talking with people, kind of similarly with what Saf says, you know, when you reach out to somebody in DMs or through Twitter or however you're going to message them email, you really just want to kind of lay everything that you want in that message. Because a lot of the times when you just send hi, a lot of people, such as myself and many other creatives, are just going to be like, I'm not going to respond to this person. So really, you want to try to get straight to the point. If you lay everything out there, they have all the information to work with, it's going to be a lot easier to transition into the actual production phase if you're trying to get something going.
It's me. All right, mine. Yes. You should always like if you want to join like some kind of like big like I don't know animation, I don't know collab or something. Just an example. Like if they want you to just animate like a specific scene or something, or like just be honest about your own skills when joining or wanting to interact with that project, because you don't want them to go like, oh, can you animate or do this, and you'll be like, I got it, and then ends up you're actually like not as good or got it as you think you were, and that might make them super disappointed in you. You'll be disappointed in yourself, and all around a bad time. Yeah,
You'll be sad.
Yeah, everyone will be sad.
Yeah, so the moral of the story of the last few slides really is just straight to the point. Tell them what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. Don't try to play games. Don't play games.
Don't be that guy.
Don't be mind games and stuff.
Exactly. So, Maynard?
So, I wanted to talk a little bit about how it's much easier to bring someone into a project that you're working on than it is to try and get involved with theirs. Say something like Bronies React. I believe AC Racebest has turned off like all of his interactions because like all of his DMs on everything because they're just filled with, can I be on Bronies React? Can I be on Bronies React? Can I be on Bronies React? When you want to collaborate with someone, it's so much easier to get them into something that you already do. So like, for example, I mentioned I run a podcast. I've gotten to have super cool people like Prince Whatever on. I've also gotten to have like Little Shy FIM, DJ Fed. This is a really old thumbnail, so don't judge it too hard. But he was actually the very first person that we had onto our podcast. But
Did you say hi to them?
No. I did not go into their DMs and say hi. I believe with every single one of them, it was like a big block of text like, hey, this is what I do this podcast. So the reason that I've been able to work with these amazing people is solely because in that instance, that sort of project, all they have to do is show up and talk. And that's it. For a lot of projects, I think something that a lot of people get is they have these big ideas, which is awesome, but they pull someone into a project or ask someone to be a part of a project and asking them to do one thing, but then they kind of expect them to do way more than just that one thing and interact constantly and be best friends and be involved in say they were hired on for voice acting. They're like, oh, but what do you think about this script? What do you think about et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? It's so much easier to convince someone to do something with you if you're the one doing most of the work. So a lot of times it helps to have done stuff previously. Like if you haven't started a YouTube channel or something and you reach out to someone and you're like, hey, this is what I want to do, you're probably less likely to get someone to be a part of that. At least people who are big and important and super busy.
The catalog, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you have at least a few videos out there, or even just one, and you're like, hey, this is what we've done in the past, would you be interested in doing something like this? When I had Fed on, it was, I think we had maybe 10 or so episodes out at that point, and I reached out to him because the My Little Pony G5 game had just come out, and he worked on that. So we were like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we invited him on, talk about his stuff? So just overall, if you want to collaborate with someone, it's so much easier to get people on board if you're the one doing most of the work. So yeah.
One quick thing I did want to add there, just speaking from personal experience, this kind of goes a bit hand in hand, like I said, when we were talking earlier about getting straight to the point, and we'll talk a bit about developing a crew and stuff later on in the panel, but one thing I've encountered a couple times is somebody will come up to me and say, we should collab sometime. It's like, okay, what?
What do you do with that?
Another thing I would like to add about when it comes to recruiting, and there's something true about not just the industry, but just anywhere you work, be it through art, voice acting, whatnot. And they always tell you, oh, how did you get into this? How did you get into that? The thing is, there are multiple answers to that, but the biggest one is you usually hear the words, oh, well, it's who you know, or it's what you know, yada yada. And while it does work, they do forget the one big thing though. And I heard this from a voice actor, Spike Spencer, and he said, that is true, but he did add one thing. He says, it's not just who you know. It's not even just what you know. It's who knows you when you aren't in the room. To paraphrase, if you want people to recruit you for their projects, don't be a jerk. Be kind. If you really want to get more work, if you want representation in any business, if you want to I really want to work with this person, just be a good person. Just be kind. Just be approachable. Don't come up oh, I want to work with you. No. Just start it say, hey, I like your work, and maybe build a little bit of a friendship, a colleague friendship, and then just be nice, and then
be genuine.
Let it go through there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so if you really want to recruit, just be. It's not that hard to be kind. Just don't be a weasel. Just be a good person. So.
I agree completely.
So glad you have to move on from that awful thumbnail.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Sorry, we had to go
back.
was pulled out of our main thumbnail. Anyway,
it's okay.
Minty, you want to
Sorry
talk
about that.
No, you're fine.
okay,
I
you're
appreciate
okay.
you. That's a lot of good
So,
points.
has any of you been to Costco lately?
Costco?
Any Costco
Yep.
shoppers in the room?
Okay.
Go.
Okay, so remember the little samples that they give? Usually you'd go to the whole store to get all the tiny samples all over the place. It's a lot more guilt-free to do that than to try to just sample one single whole rotisserie chicken from there. And that's basically the lesson I'm thinking of. It's a lot easier to just ask small contribution from people in a fandom and just ask a lot of them for small things because it's a lot less pressure on all of those people. For example, Solidarity, the multi-animated project, they basically asked, like, can I have like 5 seconds worth of animation from a lot of people? And they were all willing because it's a lot less stress to do 5 seconds than to do all 2 minutes. And a lot of it is also quite interesting because if you just ask something very small, some people are going to say, I'd like to do more. And they try to put, instead of just doing 5 seconds, they're going to do 5 seconds, but they're going to push it to try to prove that they can do something incredible. Instead of, and that's a horror story I've seen, there was a guy, I won't name him because I don't want to be a personal attack, but the guy wanted to ask people to help him animate an hour and a half long fan animated movie from people, from the tiny amount of people, and yet absolutely no experience in it. And the whole idea was a crossover, not even like double Rainbow, it was between MLP and Toontown.
Toontown?
The game on Disney.
Dude, I love Toon. I still play that game.
Yep.
Toontown's fantastic.
It's still out.
How many segments did he wanted for that half an hour film or something like that?
I think the vision he had was way too big for what he had in mind, and I think he couldn't really grasp it in something that could be achievable. And if you ask,
Logically achievable.
yep. And instead, if you just ask, like, can I have like 5 seconds of just what you can do with the skills you have, he'd be able to get something quite interesting out of people.
Yeah.
Another thing I also want to add for recruiting also, it's going back to what Minty said. Like, you would get comments like, oh, can I be a part of this project? You would check your profile only to find there's nothing. There's no portfolio. There's their YouTube, there's their profile picture, but there's nothing on their page. So it's like, if you really want to, like, yes, do small contributions, but also, if you want to work with people, do show your work, show your portfolio. Don't just say, I can do this, because if I'm just seeing nothing, we're not going to get anything from that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually, hold on a second. That's actually one thing I want to mention. I don't even know if it's in this slide, but portfolios are probably the most important thing when it comes to this.
Job
because
resumes too.
no, job resumes are useless. A portfolio shows your work. I don't care because I run Valiant Studios, for the record. It's a big company, or not a big company. It's a small startup company. We've got like 29, 30 people. She's on it, and we've been working a few years on a game. And portfolio pieces are what matter. I don't care about your piece of paper from Caltech or from even Full Sail University. I don't care. I want to see if you can do what you say you can do.
Yeah,
and so having a portfolio, a public portfolio of what you can do is extremely important. Anywho.
And one thing I did notice in the industry is the only time they ask for the school you've been to is if they've been to that school. They think, hey, that's neat. They don't really care.
Anyway.
Because at the end of the day, if you look at a movie, and for example, a movie full of special effects, and you look at them, you don't look at them because they've been from a school. You look at them because they're pretty. And they've been done on time. So
Exactly.
This kind of segues into your next tip.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the thing about exposure is that you can die from it. And one of the things with exposure is that you have some people who want to do a project and they're already known, and all they can really offer is exposure, and that's cool and all, but a lot of people don't really care about that. You have lots of people are going to ask, like, I'd like to be compensated for the work because it's going to take a long time. You're going to have fan artists who they have jobs or they have lives that they have to keep going. Some people just live of their art and they can't really afford that kind of thing. So just telling people, well, you can do it for the exposure, it's not going to be worth it in a lot of cases. For some people, they might see it as a good opportunity to prove their work and to get a new audience. But if you look at lots of projects, like, how many times did you look at a project and all the people in it and then thought, hey, I'm going to go subscribe to every single people from that project individually? It doesn't happen often. Sometimes it brings traction because some people are curious, but it's not the main thing. So just promising that and nothing else is not very nice.
Yeah, and this kind of goes along too with it as well, and I'm sure, Saf, you'll have a couple things to say to this because you run a studio yourself. Minty? And Saf, both of you guys.
Well, hold on a second. So about exposure. So there, it's It's a give and take. So, for example, this guy paid me an exposure the first time I worked for him. I did sound design for Missing Out. I was okay with that. That was my decision to offer free services to him because it got me on the project that like a bunch of people would see, and it's a good portfolio piece, right? So that helped out. But the next project, sorry, Minty, you're gonna have to pay me for it.
That's fair.
Because it takes a long time. I worked a month on Missing Out for the audio, and so it's really up to the artist's decision. If you're bringing someone on, you should expect to pay them unless they offer otherwise. Don't flip that around. Don't be like, oh, I hope they offer for free. No, be ready to pay them, and if they say otherwise, then you could accept their free services.
Yeah, pay your artists.
But
pay the people
keep
that you
in
work
mind,
with.
promising fame for a project is not going to be worth it. You want people to want to be working a project because they believe in it and they think it's going to be neat to show the project to people. Say, hey, I did that project and you like it?
Yeah,
And they've
it's
got
like
I think another thing too is also communications. Being able to communicate with, even if you have like a small team of 15, like even 30.
And we'll get to that.
yeah, I think that's
Yes,
something
we'll
we're
get to
gonna
that.
talk
We'll get to
about.
that. Minty,
So, Minty, you're
this
up
last
here.
one?
So whenever you have a project that has a lot of people working, for example, Good Morning Baltimore, back in the days we used a Skype group just to have people communicating all the things that would be involved. So just getting everybody on board with all the things that change is a nightmare because if you have, nowadays with Discord it's easier, you have a channel just for announcements, so you can just keep people going, for example saying like the release date was pushed by a month, so you have a bit more time, so you can just warn everybody. Nowadays with Discord you also have the everybody tag where you can have everybody use that to warn everybody
Except
else.
everybody mutes that.
That is fair. But the fact that now you have those tools to be able to organize people and not have to go individually and each of those people to try to remind them, like, we changed this thing, you need to update that. You also have, for example, if you have to share files, you're going to have to get a good archive for all the files.
Google Drive.
Indeed. Back in the days, we had a really weird tool before Google Drive was really...
This is before D Drive and stuff was the thing.
Well, technically it was a thing, but it was not as popular. But nowadays we have those tools that it helps a lot to get keep
I
things
do that
going.
to archiving stuff because anytime, even for productions and stuff, even just recording videos, let alone for what I do sometimes, if I lose one file, everything's ruined. That it gets worse when you lose the audio.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is another reminder to do backups. It's technically
Yes.
not related to the collaborative part, but doing backups is very important. It helps also if you ask someone else who's also in the project to do backups on this side. So if your house burns down and somehow you lose the password to your account, he has something else. But you can't rely on that either. So you need good backup solutions. So let's talk about our next topic.
Yes, so moving on. Congratulations, you've graduated from Section 1. Give yourself a round of applause.
We don't have diplomas to give out, sorry.
Yeah, well,
People just have to believe you.
you'll have to go with it. So this is now, we've surpassed elementary school. We're now heading to middle school
Yay.
with Section 2, preparation. You've gotten the collab, got the idea down. How are we preparing for it? So, Sad.
So, pay your artists.
Yes.
Rule 8, very important.
Yes. So, why pay your artists? First of all, volunteers are absolutely unreliable. If you don't have a commitment and you don't even if someone is passionate about a project, if they don't have some type of actual compensation that can help, they will be a lot less motivated to really push through the to really push through the pain and suffering of working on a project, because working on a project sucks. It really does. It's fun at first for like the first few weeks, and then you get to the hard stuff and you can't avoid it anymore.
It's that
And-
middle bit that's
Yeah.
really rough. 'Cause
Yes.
The start is always fun. When you're near the end, you're like, oh, let's go.
Yes.
When it's almost done. But in that middle,
Must pay.
Like,
oh boy.
I wish I could sit here and say, I loved working on Missing Out. It was such a fun project. No, it sucked. It
Now
sucked.
makes you sad.
And just leveling voice audio, it's terrible.
Oh,
Anywho,
God.
I spent a whole week just adjusting little bitty volume bits just to make all this stuff even. Anywho, so pay your artist. Be prepared to pay your artist. We already talked about that. But it is one of the ways that you can guarantee that they'll actually, work on your project. So, no.
Yeah, and I mean, this goes into one of my personal favorite collab tips, the ID 10T. See, not only do you need to pay those artists, you need to be specific to those artists. When you come to an artist, it's, again, it goes similarly when you're trying to reach out for somebody for collaboration, because, doing artwork with somebody is also a form of collaboration. So when you go out to them, please be very specific, because artists, while they're going to be happy to help, you're paying them and everything, but it's going to really help them if you give them very specific details. Like if you're commissioning a certain piece for like an OC or something like that, give them ref sheets, give them stuff like that. Just be precise, so that way you can make it the easiest for them, because they've probably already got a lot on their plate and they don't need to be theory crafting what they need to be making. All the time.
The worst thing to
specific.
hear for me personally, and I'm sure everyone who's an artist in here can agree, is, "Oh, just do what you think is right."
No.
No,
Yeah.
that's horrible.
As an artist, actually,
That is the equivalent for a voice actor. Oh, just say something that'll fit.
No.
That doesn't work.
No.
As a
Yeah.
That's what I.
That's his word
Yeah.
puzzle.
as a
That's what I was
professional
gonna say
artist, I'll
about
testify.
voice acting.
Waste your time.
I've learned, especially recently, I've been like, whenever I want someone to voice act, like I had Tootsie Forever recently voice act an animation for me. I'm like, how do I make like a voice actor's life like way easier? So I'll end up just getting like a big document sheet, and I'm just like, I type out what I want them to say, and then under it, I'll actually just like write like a few sentences like, all right, have this expression, it's going to be during this scene, it's like how do they make them feel and stuff, like they give them as much information as possible, so I don't have to go back later and go, actually you were supposed to be really sad at this part, so can you cry a little bit more? Right.
And also highlight who's talking also.
Yeah, I'm going to highlight like how they're going to respond.
Right.
and
A
who they're
voice
gonna
actor's
respond to.
best friend is their
Like,
script, I feel like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Like, as a voice actor, read the entire script. Don't just go, oh, control, fine, my character's lines.
Sure.
Don't do that. Read the script.
It's good to have context.
Read the scenes, get the context. That way you know, oh, this is happening. This is what I'm feeling. This is how I'm going to deliver the line.
Right.
Okay.
And by the way, if anyone has questions, there will be a Q&A section at the very end. We'll have like about 10 minutes to answer questions, so keep them charged.
Hey,
But
Shaq.
that kind of goes into, sad, it kind of goes into another thing. So what do you do after you pay the artist? You give them the specifics. What about technical requirements, Wimpy?
So if you look at any movie in the credits scene, usually people save their credits only to know if Caplanc is going to return it in the next movie or not. But you'll see that in the credits they mention a B unit, and usually the whole idea is for a movie, if you have to shoot location shots, just to say that the movie happened in a certain city, even though you've shot the whole movie in Vancouver because it's cheaper. You need a B unit that shoots those shots in that unit can be do it while the main unit is filming the regular scenes. But the thing is that those scenes are not supposed to be jarring, because even though they don't use the same cameras, because they can't always have the same equipment, they have to keep all the settings on those cameras the same, so they need to communicate exactly with all the things that you need. For example, at least for movies, it's easier because movies are usually shot at 24, but if you have a specific aspect ratio you need to follow, you need to do that. The thing with collabs is that a lot of people have completely different cameras, and in this case, for example, different frame rate. So if you're going to do a collab that's at 30 and you have someone shooting at 24, trying to make it blend is a mess. It's even more when it's the opposite. If someone shoots at 60 and you try to make it fit with something shot at 24. And just communicating that specific aspect is so much easier. It's also very helpful if you have an animation collab and you specify a specific aspect ratio, because having to crop animation once it's done is a nightmare. Same thing with the artistic requirements too. If, for example, with Good Morning Baltimore, we had the guidelines to how to stylize the backgrounds and how to handle it, and part of it was that we referenced actual photos of the Baltimore Convention Center in the areas, and we basically reference this photo, but here's the guidelines of the style, this kind of colors.
And not architect, basically.
Basically, and lots of it is really helpful, and unless you go with a map, a multi-animator project where you have lots of people collaborating with their own styles. But if you do a project that's supposed to be show style with lots of people working with show style, you're going to give guidelines. For example, I don't want it as bouncy. I want it more bouncy, or you want something that's more. And you give good guidelines of what you expect out of the team. You have, for example, legitimation productions where they have a whole animation bible where they describe all the things that they care about, and I'm rolling.
You're fine.
But
You're fine.
specifying to people exactly what you need out of those artists helps so much, because you won't have to go back and fix everything to make it match. It's so much easier.
Yeah.
And talking about matching, let's go with Silver Quill is not here, so
Well, continuity.
So this isn't what you think it means. Continuity isn't just, ooh, the lore is similar from this episode. No, it just means continuing something. It's yeah, whatever, you know.
Consistent.
So, continuity. How do you make sure that the project keeps going? Step one is be patient. People have lives. I remember early on in Dimensional Shift, Shadow disappeared for 3 months, and I didn't know where she was, and I couldn't email her. But I was patient. We did bring on someone as a backup, but she came back, and we continued working. Right? I didn't pester her too much on where are you? We got to do this. All that type of stuff, because people have lives. Also, for example, I have a gameplay test that I'm going to be doing later today that y'all can come and
Go
you
play
can,
it. It's actually
you
really
can
fun.
play a pony game that's a work in progress. That was done like most of that was finished at the last minute, and that was because our program, our secondary programmer has college. Our primary programmer is just a lot of stuff to do, and it's stressful, and you can't just work like a machine, right? We're not machines. If we were, we'd probably have better lives. But we're not machines. We can't just pump out art, like a production line, right? So you've got to be patient with other people and realize I'm probably not going to get my thing done at, 6 p.m. on Friday when I ask them 6 p.m. on Thursday, right? So just be patient.
Yeah, a lot of people, especially in smaller fandoms like ours, even if they do art, they do et cetera, not all of them it's their full-time job. A lot of people have other jobs outside of what they do in the fandom, so a lot of times you're not gonna have people available 24/7. I work full-time at a fast food place. If someone messages me during my 8 hours, I'm not responding.
And going back to the whole with the be patient, if you're the kind of person who just pushes and just keeps pushing, hey, where's this? I need to get this done, yada yada. Without any set of deadline, you're just pushing onto them. Spoiler alert: no one's gonna want to work with you. Going back to my first point, it's who knows you when you aren't in the room.
Be nice.
Especially if you're the kind of person who's using their social media to promote yourself, because believe it or not, there are people looking on your profile. If they see what you post, and if you act negatively in any way, they're gonna oh wow, this person's a red flag. Not gonna work with them.
Yeah, there's definitely a good balance to be had between being strict with guidelines or deadlines, but also being lenient depending on circumstance. Because you got to be healthy about it. And soft deadlines, and we'll actually talk about that a bit later. I know one of the slides we have, I think, it talks about that. The next slide I'm about to put up on the screen might make some people really resonate with this one. I call this one collab tip number pain, the burnout curse. The curse of burnout.
Yay.
A year and a half of burnout. Pain.
Woe be upon ye. Suffer burnout. No, I don't. Please.
We're all suffering 1,000 yards.
Yeah. So the thing with
Don't do
burnout,
it. You burn your eyes
a
out.
lot of different things can contribute to burnout. It can be whether you're overworking yourself, or something serious in life happens, or just there can be a whole menagerie of different things that can go on. But I think that really goes well with what Seth was talking about. We need to be patient with people. There's a lot of different circumstances that could arise that could push something back. And the last thing you want with someone is burnout. Cole in the audience here was having some fun burnout. If you want to say something about that.
No, wait, actually, I have a different question. What do you do when you have the opposite of burnout? Which is, I really want to work on this thing, but life is being life and I can't.
Quit your job.
Exactly.
I'll be honest. So
Caffeine.
I've spoken with Cole quite a bit outside of convention times, and he's always just like, I'm going to take a week break, and then the next day he's like, oh, I made so much progress on the journey.
So funny enough, I know a guy. He's in our server, the creator server. He's Francis or
Yeah.
the SFM corner,
Mhm.
and he will in the middle of working on Princesses Know How to Kickflip. He would sit there, he'd work, I was like, man, I'm just getting real burnt out on this. He would stop his animation. I think he's going to go play some video games. Now he opens up another animation and just keeps working on this other one because he likes to work on this one. And then this other one he's suffering with.
It definitely comes from just, know your limits. Really.
Yes.
I mean, know how much you can work yourself. Don't over push yourself. I mean, that's one thing I did back early in content creation was like, oh man, I got this video out. Now I'm setting soft deadlines that I haven't told anybody about. But my brain's like, I got to get it done. I got to upload something once a month. Try not to stress yourself out with that.
So yeah, on that little point there, just a little tip for those who are YouTubers or just really you're publishing something anywhere. Your audience really doesn't hold the expectations that you hold for yourself. They hold whatever expectations you set publicly. Mm-hmm. If you say, "Oh, I'm going to upload once a month to the public," and then you don't upload once a month, well, now you're failing your word, right?
Right.
People are going to be upset. But if you just upload whenever, nobody cares, right? They're just going to see it in their notifications.
Oh, this person uploaded. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. I get excited when I see someone upload after 3 years, and I still pay attention to that stuff. And most people do, if they, really like that creator.
My light's lighting up when I see a new Scooter Tricks video.
Right.
Yeah.
Or every other
No
week,
way.
Or every other day, be like,
Yeah.
not.
So just don't be kind to yourself. We as artists can be our worst enemies and contribute a lot to our own burnout.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is kind of segue the topic back over to Minty. Minty, you wanted to talk a little bit about voice actors.
So the problem I had in my very first animation is that I kind of just expected voice actors to know exactly what I had in mind, which is the worst idea ever when you're a director. Just assume that actors can read your mind. The thing is that if you just send them lines and just give a very rough description of what you have in mind in text format, and then send the text, receive the lines, realize it doesn't fit. So you have to go back and say, no, it's more like this, and go back and forth and go back and forth and back and forth. Or you could do a Discord call and just say let's set an hour. We're gonna record things together. I'm gonna give you the lines, and if there's any dialogue, I'm gonna give the response, because part of acting is reacting. So just having something that feels a lot, that flows better, you lose. You don't lose as much time. It's kind of an issue if you have actors who live on the other side of the planet. For example, when I had Anna Chloe to record for Princess Celestia and the False Sunset Shimmer, I had to wake up at 6 a.m. because that was the only time I could. And the only time I could was also on a weekday, so I had to wake up at 6 a.m., record with her, get it done, then jump to work on a movie, trying to not sleep at the job because I was very tired, and return home afterwards, which sounds like a nightmare, but the fact that I saved a lot of time just not having to do that kind of those kinds of corrections afterwards saved me so much trouble.
Yeah, Seth?
Oh, yeah. So on that, so I actually didn't learn this from them because I didn't know them. But so Ambient White, I don't know if any of y'all know that project.
I haven't
So
seen it.
I nabbed Shadow from Ambient White, and I remember when I was working on that, just the hell of hey, can you get this voice line in? And it's 2 weeks because she's busy, and then oh hey, I need you to change this. Can you say it like this? And it's just text. I'm how do you do that? And it's another 2 weeks until you get the line. And it's just one line. You could have done that in a call. And so I was I am never, ever going to do that. And no, never did. So
I will say, fun fact, this slideshow presentation did not divine overnight. We collaborated to make it. We got in a Discord call.
Yeah.
and collaborated.
I was actually on kind of what Saf was saying. If you guys know the project Elements of Justice, Ace Attorney.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. They. I've also had the opportunity to work with some of them. I've had some of them on my podcasts and everything. But they do like pretty much all of their voice lines. The director, several of the people like writing and such will get into a call with a big group of voice actors, and they'll just set aside like 3 hours. We're getting everything. We're getting all sorts of stuff, and that helps so much with like they don't send a message and say, "Hey, can you say this line?"
And for
And
the
then
record,
just expect them to come back with it. They just have a set recording session and just go. And
yeah, for the record, that's what they actually did on the show. There was the leaks of like a couple of years ago, right? And one in some of those leaks was all of the takes for A Perfect Pair. And if you put it all together, and it was all in the same room, right? They were all in the same room except for William Shatner. And they recorded that in probably about 2.5 to 3 hours, and then they were done. They didn't have to bring him back into the recording room anymore after that. All of those lines that were there were in the show.
Seth, what about Riz?
Riz goes a long way. So basically, if you're confident, even if the idea is stupid, if you're confident in what you're doing, and how you're presenting it, people will follow you, and people are going to help out, right? So even if you have to fake it, just approach someone with an air of confidence. Don't just be like, hi, you're like a really famous voice actor, and I'm nervous talking to you. No, be like, hey, I want you in my project. Get your butt in here, you know?
Here's
please don't tell someone that you've never met to get their butt in here.
The amount of DMs I get, hi Shadow, I'm sorry to bother you. It's like
You're already bothering.
You just met me. It's like just tell me what you want. Chances are I'll say yes.
Yeah.
So just be upfront. Well, just say hi. Sorry to bother. Well, you're already bothering me, so might as well just say what you want.
In the Riz department, especially that is a sentence I just said. So
In the Riz department.
something else that goes along with that is not only being confident yourself, but maybe throw them a compliment or two. Be like, hey, I've seen other stuff that you've worked on. I'm a big fan of that stuff, and I think you would be an excellent fit for this. That sort of thing. That's like immediately, I did something good.
Yeah.
And you recognize that, and you seem very passionate about having me a part of that. That helps a lot. It's not a guaranteed yes, but it goes a long way.
So hold on a second. I don't want you to out Riz Pear. He wants to say something.
Let him.
All right. Well,
show them the Riz.
What I was gonna say is, Saf here has more Riz than you would expect, right?
Yeah.
Like when Saf first talked to me, I didn't really know him beforehand, so he first sent me an email. Like, I didn't know who he was. I just checked my email. No one ever emails my actual
Proton mail.
YouTube email, and I saw his email, and it was just like a whole paragraph or two of just him trying to Riz me up. Hey, I saw your content. It's really good. And then I somehow joined his Discord, and then all of his people in his Discord are trying to Riz me up, going, "Wow, you do such good videos. Let's all watch it together and post." They're trying to I don't know. I'm being rizzed real hard by him.
But what happens? What happens when the Riz doesn't work, Minty?
So, Good Morning Baltimore was a cursed production. At some point, we had one of our animators who had to quit because his computer just broke all of a sudden. So we had to keep going with the project, assuming that the person was just no longer available for the project. For missing out, we had the original voice for Fluttershy that I had to recast because the person I just lost contact for months. And I realized at some point, I have to recast. It's not fun, but that's life. For the beginning environment, for the current project I'm currently working on, that's going to be the trailer will release later today. I had to recast the voice for Derpy Hooves because the original voice could just basically not contact her. Well, I could contact her, but she kept pushing and pushing and pushing the recording, and I realized at some point like I have to do something about it. And just sometimes you have a perfect team in your head that you want to work with, and sometimes you have to accept that some of those people have to drop out because of life events, and being able to work around it is very valuable.
So that's something that I have personal experience with. I think it was last year at the con, or was it the year before that? I don't know, one of these years at this con. I had an individual that came up to me, and he liked the Dimensional Shift project, and he was a website designer, and he wanted to do website design. Well, very cool. We needed to design a website. So we brought him on. We were like, all right, what do you want your pay rate to be? So, well, I can't really, be paid because I won't be able to work full time on this. That's okay, man. We'll compensate you. 6 months later, he has only done a little bit and keeps on pushing back. And I just have to finally say, look, man, I don't want people on my team that are unreliable because we've got to get stuff done. We're not trying to sit here and incubate an egg. We've got work to do, right?
Right.
So like, I told him just straight up, if you can't do it, that's okay. We're going to let you go. There's no harm, no foul. I just want to know, can you do it? And he said, no, I can't. So we let him go. And it was fine.
That's another...
Knowing your limits.
Yeah, that's another very important thing. If you do have to replace someone in a project in some way, shape, or form, let them know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being told that you're no longer involved in something that you thought was all hunky-dory, I can't imagine that's very moralizing. Like,
No.
You'll die inside.
Yeah, so what happens, Pear? What if we're too cringe?
Oh, right. If you're cringe, right? So we're all can be a little bit cringe every now and then, right? We're bronies. So
it's in our blood.
So when you get into a big collab of people, you have to kind of like suss out what the feeling in the air is with all the people you're with, right? So like, say I worked on the anthology video, the recent anthology that came out. It was my first time working on them. I knew right away with Cole being there and Jay Holler, I was like, my cringe can get it can go up higher than normal in the anthology group. So
These guys are a couple of goofy goobers.
yeah, and like with this group, I can be cringe with a few. I don't know how cringe I can be with Minty. I haven't spent enough time with Minty.
We will figure it out.
Yeah,
So
trust
probably
me,
pretty
you
cringe.
will learn.
But some
okay,
groups you might not want to be cringe. They might not accept cringe as much. So be cool until you know how cringe you can be.
Yeah, be presentable, be aware, be very aware of how you're presenting yourself. Kind of ties into the other thing about like social media, like people looking into your social media and everything. I have had times where people have reached out to me and been like, hey, can I come on your podcast? And I look through their social media and I see not much that they have done. I see certain interactions that they've had that have been very negative or have been very like just fanboy,
Problematic.
yeah, or problematic, like, and I'm just like, maybe let's not do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So this is probably my favorite part. So Minty, you gonna fight the big guy or the small guy?
Well, the thing is that whenever you have a project where you work with other people, those people are going to disagree with you at some points. And the thing is that when you have a very, very specific vision and you want to not compromise on your vision, but compromise to make your vision happen, one of the things that will happen is sometimes with those disagreements, you'll have to choose which ones that you'll have to let go, because you'll realize that some of the artists you'll work with, sometimes they just don't have the art style that can make it work with your vision, and you have to work around that. Sometimes you have singers who can't hit some notes because it's just out of the range. Sometimes you'll just have people who realize that one of the things you're trying to do is just physically impossible with the limits of the production. And the thing is that you have to choose what you're willing to fight on and what you're not willing to fight on. And because one of the things is that sometimes you'll have people who have very loose directions, and they'll just let people influence it in a way where it just becomes sludge because there's just nothing that just ties it together. But if you're too strict, people are just gonna just drop off because they think that you're way too uptight with it.
Yeah.
We've heard enough horror stories about movie productions that were shut down because the director could just not compromise on
And
it.
sort of speaking along the lines of being a little unreliable.
Yep. I assume everybody will be late, so just set the deadline before the actual deadline so people have a rougher idea of when to get it done. So you can push it if you really need to. We've had a project where we didn't do it and we ended up just getting late for the convention it was supposed to be releasing at. And it's quite a nightmare when you need to explain to the con chair, yeah, the thing I'm here to show is not done yet. I've been trying to find you for the whole con because at BabsCon we had the very, very tiny card for the badge. It was a nightmare finding the con chair that I had no idea what she looked like, just to try to explain, yeah, I'm sorry, messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I know we have very little time.
Oh, you're good.
But I wanted to say something on the picking your fights. I have a project that I'm working on that's not come out yet, that's not been revealed or anything, that I'm working on with a few people in this room, in which I'm like doing most of the editing for it, and there have been a few jokes in there that I thought were the funniest thing on the planet, and I showed it to maybe one other person, thought it was the funniest thing on the planet, and then showing it to more people, and nobody picks up on it, and it's like, I'm gonna have to cut it. Like, nobody's gonna get this joke. It's not gonna be funny enough.
That's why there's a difference between comedy versus what makes you laugh.
Right. Yeah. 100%. And before we get off the topic of deadlines, what about the Phantom tax?
All right. So, you're going to get a big phantom tax if you don't meet your deadline. Meaning, basically, if you don't meet a deadline that's set, people aren't going to trust you, right? Like, it's going to be like...
Unreliable.
Yes, you will be noted as unreliable. And whenever there's another big thing happening, they're going to be like, oh, do we want to invite this person? I don't know. They're kind of sus. They might not get it.
Hey, I think you're hitting your cringe limit here.
Yeah, so before we get too absorbed,
For the record, that actually goes the other way. So, like, say for Dimensional Shift, that is a long project. We don't know how long it's going to take. So, we have not ever said a release date. And we're not going to set a release date publicly until we are absolutely finished with the project, because we all know the nightmare of EA saying that they're going to release something in a year, and then it's like 2 years later, So it can go the other way too. Be very careful how you set your deadlines, and personally, I would be against setting deadlines unless you know you can hit it for certain.
Yep, 100%.
But keep in mind, you can make a target release of what you think it should be releasing at, and just not tell it to anybody else. So if you don't make it, because for example, you just think, well, I'll be able to get it done by TrotCon, given what I've been working on so far. You just don't tell the public about the release, and if you miss it, well, they won't see it, and that's not the end of the world like that.
I had that same project I thought was going to be ready to release at this convention, so I submitted for a panel for it, and thankfully that panel did not get accepted because it was not ready.
Yeah.
Well, good.
So
I got lucky.
First, I just want to say congratulations, everyone. You've graduated. You've graduated the classic collaboration. But
I'll be handing out the test.
What? The pop quiz, everyone. No. I got my notes. But I will say, before we do get into, we have about 10 minutes left, roughly, to just have a quick Q&A for anybody who has questions. But I do want to just make a quick clarification. If you've done any of the things on these slides, don't let that get you down, because I have made multiple of these mistakes on the slides.
Yep. That's what we learned from.
My first interaction with Paramare was literally me just sending the default Discord wave. and nothing else.
Well, you weren't trying to collaborate with him.
I wasn't trying to. I was trying to talk to him.
You just bored one day, I guess.
Yeah, but like I said, I've made a lot of these mistakes. A lot of us had. Everybody's going to. It's not going to be perfect, so don't beat yourself up about it. Just learn to be better and better yourself for it. So with that being said, we are going to get into a quick Q&A. We got about 10 minutes. We'll try to answer them quickly. Minty, I love you. Let's not ramble. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll go whoever I see first. Dakota, you're raising yours.
All right, so I actually wanted to say something.
Okay.
One big thing that I more or less wanted to actually talk about was, I'm blanking out. This is horrible. Oh no.
Oh no.
Skip.
Oh no.
We can come back to you.
We'll come back.
All right, Cole.
So, So I could come off as a mad scientist when I'm working on anything.
Yes.
Yep.
And I'm very much like a specific guy. Like I know what I want in here.
We talk techniques, so I know.
I equally want the interpretation from who I'm working with as much as I want my own vision. I want like the perfect like
Mesh.
lava lamp of both. I guess I don't know. So you talked about like make sure you're sending people. I'm looking at you because you know. Script.
Yes.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
How much is too much information?
With you writing, probably too much, but
I always write too
but I'm just kidding. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
So I would say that like as much, I think you need to communicate about that with the person that you're
Yeah.
working with. If you, I would like overshoot it just a little bit. What you think would be overshooting, send it to them. Ask, is this enough? Do you think you understand this? And especially, this is just a conversational thing. Ask them to paraphrase back to you what they think the vision is,
Yeah.
so that y'all can see if you're on the same page or not. Don't wait until they start working on it, and then you can like come meet in the middle and
Right.
see what you need to do.
And Rem, you look like you had your epiphany.
Yes, okay. So basically, I actually wanted to say something more than
Yes, go
anything
ahead.
else. I wanted to
Illegal.
add on the fact that people are friendly. I have collabed with a crap ton of people, such as like Little Shy, Prince, a bunch of people here, like Minty too. I've collabed with them when I only had like 100 subs. I'm telling you right now, as long as the whole like Riz thing, have confidence. As long as you have confidence,
Fifth
like,
time.
get to the point
Yeah.
where, like, hey, I want to do this thing. I also did it with I'm Shadow as well. I was a little bigger by that point, but still.
Right.
Point is, when you want someone to work on your project, just have confidence. Don't be scared. They're not going to be like, they're not going to tear you apart if you say, hey, would you like
they're not
to
gonna
get
be
part of
bait.
this?
The worst they can say, like the worst that can happen is just, oh, sorry, I can't do it, but I wish you the best. But I wish you the best luck in your project. Like the worst thing happen, they say no.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Any more questions?
Any more questions? Anybody else? Yes.
So there was a topic that you touched on, like how people will often look at your social media about how you've acted in the past and how that reflects on you.
Yes.
But would you say, what would you say for like somebody who feels like that who worries that they may have come off as something worrisome or troublesome in the past?
I would say like this kind of touches on it a little bit. I would say, I mean, try to act professional online. Like even if you're kind of like stretching your bounds a little bit there, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can say that can offend certain people. We might not even find it to be offensive, or we might do something that we don't know that's actually wrong, or something in that regard. So it's just try to be as professionally as you can. I mean, if you wouldn't say it in person, don't say it online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It comes
big
to
one.
self-awareness.
But also, real quick, so as someone who has hired a lot of people and has looked at that stuff, so there's actually a couple of aspects. So there's the aspect of, if someone sees that I have this person on my project, are they going to get mad at my project? I think we can all, if we're aware about goings on in this thing, we could think of someone who recently went through a lot of drama and got kicked off a bunch of projects, right? And that's because them being on those projects can bring negative attention towards that project, right? But that's probably not going to be an issue for anybody. Really, as long as you're acting professional, like he said, we can see that you've changed and that you're not that same person anymore. But also, I mean, go through your Twitter and delete stupid stuff. You can do that.
Despite what people may believe, we are rather forgiving as a fandom.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to point that out.
Don't forget too that people will probably dig into some people's past, but usually it's because they do something really bad right now.
Right.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
Because
So yeah, we'll quickly split over. Yes.
Okay, so when it comes to a project, if everything's going wrong, nothing's being done, what's your threshold for like? I think it would be best to kill the project.
It's hard.
that really depends on
Depends
the
on
project.
how much you love it.
Well,
How much you treasure it.
Thrusters.
I mean, just be realistic with yourself. You just got to be honest with yourself of, can I finish this thing?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the panels we were showing a bit earlier about knowing your limits. Like if you're trying to do this thing and it's just not working out, I mean, sometimes the best thing to do is not even to just cancel it completely, but just shelf it. Put it on the shelf, let it burn, let it simmer.
Anyone else?
Yeah, do you think going along with that, there's actually a role or merit in downscaling or de-scoping a project?
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
You really should, because creeping scope is really a thing that all projects that I've seen really suffer from, even from people like us that know what we're doing,
especially
right?
gaming projects. Like in this fandom, so many gaming projects have completely failed.
Don't be afraid to kill your darlings.
Yeah, they had grand aspirations for this, and it just wasn't something that the team could do.
And you'll notice a lot of very, very popular projects in the fandom don't have very big scale, and people still love them. Like one of the things I remember back in the days was called a platformer called Minty Fresh Adventures. It's just Minuet just wanting to become a dentist.
Yep.
It's like 3 levels and a couple of voice acting. It's just that. It just blew my mind when it was young.
Yeah. Are you with the blue horn?
I have 2 questions. One,
Sure.
where were you guys when I first started out? I could have used these tips so much sooner.
I was hibernating.
Yes,
I was. I think I woke out of my comatose like a year ago.
Learning a lot of these lessons.
I was
Learning a
busy
lot of
making
these
those
lessons. That's
mistakes.
what I was doing.
Yeah, we were busy studying the arts that we may show you.
Next question.
Wait, second. She had 2 questions.
Next question?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
the second question is, sorry to be such an inconvenience. Can I get a copy of these? Because I need to remind myself of these slides. These tips constantly.
Yeah, if you want, you could give
You could stay after the panel.
if you
and
want to
we
stay
could
after the panel, if you got this like a business email or something, we can send you the doc.
I believe we're also recording this, right?
Yep. This will be on YouTube at some point.
Yes, it will also be on YouTube if you want to review.
Okay. Another thing that really fast. So about killing projects, I'm Shadow knows this one very well. With me, I was working on a project called like a really big project called like Nerdy Chrysalis. It was supposed to be like this big thing. It was gonna be a long going series. I paid I'm Shadow, got all the lines recorded. I worked on it for like I think like a few weeks, maybe almost like a month, and I was like, this project's just not gonna work out. Like I know it's not gonna work out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I just had to accept the fact to kill that project and just move on.
So
And the thing is, like, be honest. Like, just say, hey, just like tell everyone you're working with, hey, I don't think this is gonna work out. More often than not, the response is gonna be, oh yeah, I totally understand. Like, take all the time you need. Like,
yeah, they're not gonna
your coworkers aren't gonna fault you for having a life.
Yeah. So I'll say we've got time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. You've been raising your hand for a while.
I was gonna say about dealing with people that constantly change the end title screen when they do the credits.
What?
I've been on projects with people out of nowhere in the last day had to change the titles.
Sure.
And all the credits in a matter of minutes.
Well, that just comes down to communication.
Speedfire, yes.
What's one example of a project that is very small in scope, but still large enough to be worth collaborating with at least one other person?
The Out of Our Mains podcast.
There you go.
I would say, I mean that's not a point podcast for sure.
I think another example is the How It Should Have Ended series that Shadow does. She only has like 2 people that work on it plus herself. So.
Well, it's just like, I do this thing called, like, I just do the Trey Parker Matt Stone method where I do all the girl and kid voices, my boyfriend does all the guy voices. If there is a voice that and if there is a voice he and I absolutely cannot do for the love of us, then we hire somebody.
Yeah, definitely. So with that being said, we got about a minute left. Thank you guys so much for coming out to the panel. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you've learned some valuable tips today. You guys have been a wonderful audience, and the last thing I do want to leave you guys with is run.
Run!
Thank you, everybody.
Get out of here.